And usually when I ask people, hey, talk about where you come from quickly and kind of where you grew up, and we don't spend a lot of time there because most people didn't really do anything significant that had any long-term impact on their lives when they're like 8, 9, 10 years old, right? But for you, I mean, when you were 8, 9, 10 years old, shit was already crazy.
Yeah. Shit was pretty much crazy from the start.
Yeah. I'm gonna just kind of pull a little something here out of the book just to give a little bit of background. This is from Harley's book, Hardcore Life of My Own. I was born at San Francisco General Hospital on March 8th, 1967, at the start of the Summer of Love. My mom's name is Rose Marie Feliu.
Yes.
And my dad's name was Harley Wayne Walker Flanagan. My mom was a hippie. My dad was a drifter. And somehow their paths crossed. Before the hippie days, my mom was into all the early rock and roll stuff, Motown, and pretty much all the music that was happening when she was young. Her father, Juan Feliu?
Yes, Juan Feliu.
Juan Feliu came from the DR, the Dominican Republic, came to America through Ellis Island by himself when he was in his early teens, and was one of the first Dominicans to join the United States Army. Served in World War II, where he played in the military band. That's how he got his citizenship, by serving in the military. He was one of the funniest people I ever knew. He worked all kinds of different jobs, everything from building super to a longshoreman. He was a charming guy with a thick Spanish accent. So that's the beginnings. Do you speak any Spanish?
Curse a little bit. That's about it.
So you got that going for you.
Yeah.
Now you continue on. My mom was a go-go dancer. And like so many people, she was caught up in the whole drug culture of the 60s. And when I was a kid, she was still a stripper. I remember going to work with her a few times when I was little. That was weird, looking back on it now. There was even a short period of time when she was a dominatrix, but that was later. My dad left home for good around the same age as me, maybe 14 or 15, and started riding freight trains. He liked to live from moment to moment, and from everything I've heard, he had a serious drug and alcohol issues most of his life. He was always in and out of prison. It's hard to accept that your dad chose heroin and alcohol over you. It really does kind of hurt even now. I guess that might be one of the reasons why I turned out the way I did. My mom and me did a lot of hitchhiking and stayed with a lot of different people. A lot of crazy shit happened on those trips. At one point, a friend of hers was going to Europe and asked, "Do you want to come?" And my mom was like, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." She did, and I went with her. I was probably around 3 or 4. That was that. I never saw my father again. I stayed in Europe pretty much until I was about 10, but I come back to the States every year or so. We settled down in Denmark, 1971. Denmark and Danish culture are very wholesome. It's a great place to grow up, but of course there's an underside too. In the 60s, and in my case, the late 60s and 70s, it was cool in certain aspects and wasn't so cool in others. You had all these people fucked up on drugs and all the free love. Everybody's fucking everybody, and it's not really the best environment for a kid to grow up in. And as cool as some of the things and a lot of the people were, a lot of them were, at least some of them, were just fucking lost. And yeah, all the kids were wild. What do you expect? I mean, we were just imitating the grown-ups. So as a result, I was getting laid and doing all kinds of other crazy shit before I'd even reached puberty. You basically had a lot of little kids just going off. You got all these hippie kids with their hippie parents, seeing all kinds of craziness, adults running around naked, people doing drugs, being insane. That shit rubs off on kids. Damn.
Yeah.
Did you completely think that was normal at the time? Was that just the way the world was?
Well, that's the way my world was. I didn't realize really that we were so different from the rest of society until my parents tried to put me into a regular school, and of course I started getting fucked with a lot by the kids because I had long hair, and I didn't really fit in, and my parents looked like freaks, and that was when it really hit me. And it was also, I went from being at that hippie school to being in a very strict school in Denmark, which was like real old school and very rigid. So it was total
culture shock
yeah,
for
it
you.
was like, what the fuck, And